you in this room as I've traveled around this state, and I have to tell you, you're the ones that deserve the accolades, the recognition, and the applause today, because you listened to your civic teachers, you did your civic duty, and you changed the course of law in Minnesota for the benefit of you and all the people you represent. So give yourself a big round of applause. You know, you won this year, but life's kind of an ever-ending struggle, and I'm pretty good at, you know, raising hell and fighting battles, right, Opet? So, you know, I just want you to know that you got a lot more work to do. You got to get those 100,000 students that you represent to keep believing that they can change government and change things for the better, because we never gave up believing that. You know, your generation has kind of gotten a raw deal. This morning, and I just talked to a young lady in the back of the room from Vermilion Community College. I recognized her last name and asked her if she was from Tower or Sedan, and she told me she was. And this morning, ironically, on the way down, one of the lobbyists at the Capitol, a guy by the name of Ryan Jarrett, called me. I told him where I was going, and he said to me, you know, I really got to thank the state of Minnesota and the people that came before you for what they did for me, because he went, just like this young lady in the back of the room, back to the range to live with his grandparents, went to Vermilion, then junior college, for everything, books, tuition, $40 a quarter. The minimum wage was $1 back then, he told me. So you do the math. What's the minimum wage today? $6.50? $6.50, isn't it? I passed the law, I should know. and in the Republican House of Representatives, I passed it and kept the governor from stealing tips from waiters and waitresses. So I'm kind of proud of that. But regardless, so if you work a 20-hour work week, which I'm sure a lot of you in this room do, and a lot of your peers maybe work more, you make, let's say, $7 an hour, even do the math and see what we've done to your generation. And the debt, it's embarrassing, the debt that we've put on the students of this country. And embarrassing that we're trying to govern this state and nation on the cheap. When your representatives came to the Capitol this year, and understanding how government does work, you lobbied hard. You got the biggest increase in over a decade. You put the money, or at least we thought we put the money in the right place. You know, when Joe and I went to school, 2/3 of our tuition was paid for by the state of Minnesota at a public institution. It isn't that way anymore. It says it. It makes it look good on the law books that we're going to have a goal, right, Senator, of trying to pay 2/3 of your education, but we haven't reached that goal in years, and in fact, we keep throwing more and more at you. We never had a technology fee. I suppose, Mr. President, you might have upped that this year here. Hopefully you didn't, but we want you to keep it stable and steady here. But you know, like I said, I think your generation has got a bum deal, and you got to realize, you got to make your peers realize, I'm preaching to the choir in this room, that you have to make your voices heard. You know, you're inheriting a world that was nowhere near as nice as the world we inherited, just for a number of things I've mentioned. You've got a global war on terrorism. You live in a global economy. You have global warming. And quite frankly, I think it's time that you go global and make us understand that we're screwing up a lot of things, and your job is, for your generation, to help straighten things out. You can do that if you participate. You know, we've done a lot of things that I've at the Capitol derailed, and I think one of the things that legislators and congressmen and women in this country have forgotten, and that is, they've forgotten what it's like to be a kid. Youthful indiscretions. You know, I've said it on the House floor. I think the President, Senator sitting up here as a former state representative, President Opatz, can appreciate this. One day on the House floor, I made a notice that to all of us that half the laws that we passed since I've been in the legislature were in place. When we were kids, we'd all be in jail and be felons. So, you know, some of these laws have to come off the books, and your generation really is getting a bum rap. But my point today is this: keep doing what you're doing, keep participating, because what you've done is right. As the new chair of the Higher Education Workforce Development Committee this year, I can tell you right now, I didn't want this job. I didn't know much about the higher education system. I hadn't been involved since back in the early 90s. I wanted to be chair of tax committee. I'd much rather raise money than spend it, believe it or not. Because the tax bill, you get to spend a lot of money, right, you know? But I got this job, and I thought one of the first things I'm going to do is listen to the people who are the reason why we have a higher education system, and that's the students. And I wanted you to tell your story because Representative Opatz and Representative Pulowski and those that were involved in higher education before me had been making the point for years that the tuition problem in this country was going to bankrupt a lot of you. And if you think this housing fiasco and mortgage fiasco, it's just the tip of the iceberg with the debt that we've laid on you, and somebody has to address it, and your peers here in this room that lobby us at the Capitol recognize that, and we had a great bill, and it would have been better if the governor hadn't told us that he vetoed the first bill if we didn't cut $20 million out of it. So I'm a little perplexed as to why he might be getting an award. Maybe I'll raise your tuition next year and you can give me an award for doing that, but that's a whole other issue. Because your bill would have been a lot better. And yet, it was a good bill, except for one thing. We didn't line item. We did not put numbers in our bill because we didn't want the governor to pick and choose and veto this and veto that. So we gave a lump sum of money, but we had on the spreadsheet understanding when we put the spreadsheets out every time in conference committee where we intended the money to go. Somewhere it got a little clouded, and the MSCSA Board of Trustees put a little more money into technology than we intended. And I can tell you this today, I'm pretty good at fighting up there, and I'm pretty good at trying to correct things that I think need correcting, and I'm going to promise you this today. I'm going to work really hard to make sure the Board of Trustees and the administrators at MSCSA understand that we expected you to not have a 4% increase, that we expected it to be more like 2%, and we're going to see that it happens at the Capitol this next coming legislative session. So thank you very much, because we're going to work together and we're going to win, because now you understand that by participating in learning that civic lesson, that you really can make things happen and make change happen. We've got a lot of things to address and continue to address in the state. But one of the first things we're going to do when we get back is talk to the Board of Trustees and the MSCSA administration about looking at lowering that tuition that's coming here in this biennium. So thank you all very much for having me. I appreciate it. Keep up the good fight. And again, good luck to your next session. Thank you.